What's up my G's, and welcome to my review of the 5th episode of Dragon Quest Dino Daibouken, aka The Adventures of Dai Anime. If you are new here and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hitting that thumbs up down below. I really appreciate all of your support, and with all that said and done, let's jump right in. In the last episode, we learned that Dai's new teacher, Avan, was actually the legendary hero who defeated the evil lord long ago. And we learned this from the evil lord himself, who showed up on the island looking for Avan. This episode picks up where we left off, with Avan taking a direct hit from Hadlar to protect Dai and Pop. Avan is hurt, but explains to Pop and Dai that Hadlar must be killed here and now. And he tells Pop and Dai that Lord Vern must be taken out by them. Avan then uses the last of his magic power to cast a Clang spell on Pop, Dai, and Brass, which is a spell that turns the body to steel and repels any magical attack. He wants to face Hadlar alone, and by telling Pop and Dai that they will have to kill Lord Vern, it seems that Avan plans to do something drastic. Avan then pulls 2 necklaces out from his shirt, and Pop states that they are insignias of Avan, and they were also certificates of graduation. Avan hands the 2 necklaces to Pop and Dai, meaning that they have finished their training, and they were ready to become full-fledged heroes. This moment felt like a passing of the torch. The legendary hero that defeated the Demon King long ago was now entrusting the fate of the world to the hands of 2 young heroes, with full faith that they will be victorious. It feels like Avan plans to die in this battle, and both Dai and Pop are not okay with his decision, but with them being frozen in place thanks to the Clang spell, they were helpless to what was going to happen next. This scene had plenty of emotion, with the sad music in the background and the dialogue that was shared. It showed how much faith Avan had in Pop and Dai, and how much he cared for them. And it also showed how much Pop and Dai cared for their teacher. After the scene, Avan marches back over to face Hadlar, who had been waiting patiently for Avan to say goodbye to his students. Pretty honorable for the commander of the demon army. The 2 exchanged dialogue, explaining how Avan was out of magic power, and Hadlar himself was almost out of magic power as well. Avan suddenly launches an attack at Hadlar, swinging his sword towards him, and Hadlar dodges and starts to overpower him with punches, and even catches Avan with an uppercut. Avan continues to try to hit Hadlar with his sword, but Hadlar is dodging all of his attacks with his arms crossed against his chest, looking like a badass, and proceeds to kick the sword out of Avan's hand. He then hits Avan in the stomach with a punch that rocks Avan's core. But it seems that it was all according to Avan's plan. Avan suddenly shoves both his hands into the temples of Hadlar's head, and Hadlar is caught by surprise. Lightning starts to emit from the wounds on Hadlar's head, and Hadlar is confused because he thought that Avan was out of magic power. But Avan explains that this spell uses little magic power, and instead draws from the life energy of the user and turns it into explosive power. Right before the explosion, we get a quick flashback of a girl with a necklace around her neck. I don't know who she is, but she must be important to Avan. And then the explosion hits. Megante! We see a super cool looking explosion that was bright but also had a rainbow effect to it. The dust clears and there's a huge crater in the ground with nothing left but Avan's sword stuck in the ground. This explosion looks sick as hell and really showed the amount of power that was emitted from the body of Avan. It truly reminded me of Majin Vegeta's final explosion attack that he used to try to defeat Fat Buu in Dragon Ball Z. Brass explains that Avan sacrificed himself to defeat Hadlar with the Megante spell. Suddenly, the floor starts to shake, and Hadlar bursts out from the ground, leaking blood from the holes in his temple, and he is laughing, stating how weak Avan has gotten. It seems that the attack wasn't enough to kill Hadlar, but it did severely weaken him. All that is left is Pop, Dai, and Brass, who are frozen in the Clang spell, and Hadlar is ready to take them out. He starts to build up a fire spell with his fingers, but Dai is starting to rage out, the same way he did in the prior episodes, breaking free from the Clang spell that Avan put on him to protect him. Hadlar then shoots a Kafrid spell, which is a fire spell, at Dai, who counters with a Kakrak spell, which is an ice spell, and the 2 have a beam struggle like in Dragon Ball. This whole part looked beautiful like always. The way the flames and the ice spell looked were incredible, and they almost looked CGI-ish, and they probably were. Hadlar is angry at what just happened and goes to attack Dai, but is hit in the stomach with a fierce punch from Dai that knocks the wind out of him. And then another fierce uppercut that sends him stumbling back, like when you knock your opponent down in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Hadlar sees the mark on Dai's forehead shining and says that it's the mark of the dragon. It seems that he's scared of what he's seeing. He states that it's a dragon crest, and he wonders if Dai is a dragon knight. Hadlar and Dai then attack each other, and Hadlar receives another injury to his hand. And then he pulls out claws from his fist like Wolverine and starts to attack Dai, who dodges all of his attacks. Hadlar even shoots a spell at Dai that depletes the rest of his magic power. This time, Hadlar is sure that he hit Dai head on. The smoke clears and Dai is standing there with the crest shining on his forehead. And he claims that he will not lose to Hadlar. And then we get a beautiful, epic looking picture of Dai pointing to Hadlar. Probably the picture that will be in the background of this video. Hadlar is scared and mad as hell. He jumps up into the sky and shoots towards Dai with his claws. And Dai readies his stance like Avan doing the Avan Strash. The two collide and Hadlar is sent flying through the sky with a beam that reminds me of Goku's Kamehameha attack. Hadlar then receives another slash across his chest, opposite of the one that Avan gave him in the last episode, creating an X-shaped scar in his chest. After being humiliated by a kid, Hadlar then uses a Chimera's Wing, which is a teleport item from the games, to teleport away from the battle, and then the island is safe. This was a super action-packed episode, and this was the episode I was waiting for a long time. This whole fight was epic from start to finish, and I loved every second of it. Afterwards, our heroes mourn the loss of Avan. Dai states that Avan has given him a mission to defeat Lord Vern, and that is what he sets out to do. We switch over to Hadlar talking to Lord Vern, but Hadlar is still concerned with the power of Dai. He states that the scar that Dai gave him is healing slower than the scar that Avan gave him. And he is fully devoted to killing Dai, and that's the end of the episode. Holy crap, this episode was epic. It had me at the edge of my seat. The non-stop action, the way that it was animated, plus the tension that had been built from both last episode and this episode made this episode even better. I literally have no complaints on how this story is being handled, and I can't wait for next week's episode. Like I said, this anime continues to get better and better, and man, this episode delivered. And if you aren't convinced yet, then I don't know what else to tell you, but watch it for yourself. I seriously recommend this anime to you if you love anime, and I'm sure you will be left with no regrets. I'll end this video here. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button down below. Also, drop a comment and tell me what was your favorite part of the episode. And don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified and don't miss when I drop a new video. I hope you guys will continue to join me as I cover every episode of this anime. And I'll see you next time with the next Dragon Quest video. Peace out, my G's.